with Sherry is a bariatric podcast talking about weight loss surgery. I am not a licensed professional. Any views and or opinions expressed in this show are those of the speakers and do not reflect the bariatric community as a whole. Always reach out to a professional with any medical issues you are experiencing. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the show. Happy Wednesday, and welcome to another episode of Unzipped with Sherry. Side note, I had a lot of caffeine this morning, so we are wired and we are feeling good today, which I'm really glad because I have a lot of high energy. And for this week, we have a special guest. We have Dean, who just celebrated his 1-year surgiversary yesterday. So I'm really excited to have him on the show. He had the gastric bypass surgery, and he just completed his first triathlon. And he has such an incredible, amazing story. So I can't wait for you guys to tune in and listen to him. And if you guys are watching live with us, send us comments, ask him questions. He has assured me that he is an open book. So we're going to see how true that really is if you guys are asking the hard-hitting questions. So without further ado, I hope you guys are ready. And Dean, I hope you're ready because we're about to get unzipped. We all have a story on how we got here, right? So for me, I used to be over 350 pounds until one day I made the single decision that I wanted change. Weight loss surgery has saved my life, and now I am here for you. I want to hear your story. You know, the one that happened during that before and after picture. It's time to unzip. What's your story? Hello, hello, how are you?
I'm good.
Can I just say, that was one of the weirdest transitions I've ever had into playing the video, because for those of you who are watching who don't know, Dean and I had like some technical issues before we came on here, and I was on the live chat help. And so he just messaged me and he's like, hey, is everything working again? And I was like, yeah, thank you so much. We're about to go live right now. And then I went to play our video and it wouldn't let me play it because the chat was still up there. So I had like the weirdest awkward face. So sorry about that, you guys. But thank you guys for tuning in right now. And Dean, man, how you doing?
I'm good. You know, I'm down in San Antonio for work and it's just hotter than snot down here. So that I'm not a big fan of. But other than that, I'm good.
I know we were just talking. I was complaining that it's like 110 here, and then you had a one up me that's like 120 something over there, and I'm like, well, I guess I can't complain now.
Yeah, it's like, you know, place where you live in hell is what I picture
Yes.
down here. I don't know how people live down here. So
No. No. So first and foremost, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank
And like
you for having me.
Of course. Like, I have loved your story. I've loved the mindset that you've had in just the first year, which is why I was really excited that you were even interested in coming on here and sharing your story. Because I kind of wished I had the same mindset as you a year ago, or like in the first year. Mine kind of took some years of like development, but the fact that you're already in this headspace just makes me so fucking excited to see where you're going to go and how this journey is going to take you. But obviously, you weren't in this headspace the entire time, which is why you ended up having surgery. So for those of you guys who don't know Dean, I kind of think he should tell us a little bit about his origin story and how we got here.
Go. Oh, man. Well,
no pressure.
You know, first off, you know, I'm 51. I'll be 52 at the end of this month.
No, you're not.
You know, in our little community, I'm the dad. I'm the old guy. There's not a lot of older guys, especially that has this surgery. But you know, I was the smallest kid in my class up until about the 4th or 5th grade. I mean, I'm talking like if you look at pictures, skinny, Ethiopian, even skinny. I was just tiny, giant head, little body. You know, it was just. And I always make jokes that my mom finally learned how to cook, and then boom, I exploded. You know, in the 6th grade, I was 199 pounds.
In the 6th grade?
Yeah, and whatever reason, I was so excited to hit 200, and so I was 199 forever. You know, and so, but yeah, so and then all of a sudden, 6th grade hit, and I'm huge. I'm the biggest guy in class, and then it just went on from there. You know, as a freshman in high school, I was think I was 6'5", 265, and I graduated at 6'7", 315 pounds, So I just kept growing. And what's crazy is there's nobody in my family that big. My grandfather, who I'm named after, he was tall, and he might have been 6'6", 6'7", but his nickname was Skinny because he was literally super skinny and super
No shit.
tall. But my mom's side had all the biggins, and so I got kind of the big weight size from them and the height from my dad's side.
Wait, you were 6'5" in like the sixth grade, or going into, or you said going into high school, and by ninth grade?
Freshman year, I was 6'5". Yeah,
Holy shit!
yeah, yeah. And what's crazy is I moved around a lot. I mean, I've lived in like 24 different states. Just because my dad's job, we just moved around a lot. And so I never really played sports just because we were never in a town long enough to really kind of set roots until I got into high school. And then when I got into high school, I can remember my dad saying, "Bro, you are huge. You need to maybe try to play football or something." And I was like, and I was just such a easy-go-lucky kid. I was like, okay, let's try this football thing, And I can remember showing up to sophomore year, and that was the first year I played, was 10th grade, and I showed up for football practice or tryouts, and the coaches were separating everybody by grade level, because back when I played, I make it sound like I'm really old, but sophomores couldn't play varsity. And so they're like, all right, freshmen, you're on the freshman team. Sophomores, you're over here. Juniors and seniors, you're over here. And so I started walking towards the sophomore class, and the coach was like, no, no, no. I said juniors and seniors over here. And I was like, Coach, I'm only 15. And they were like, what? And I was like, I'm only 15. And they're like, well, how big are you? And I'm like, I'm about 6'6", 275 as a 10th grader, And they were
Wow.
just
Now,
so.
I'm curious for you. So you started as a scrawny little kid, and then literally seemingly overnight, you went in the complete opposite direction.
Yeah.
Now, as a kid, were you aware of your size? Like, did it cause like an insecurity for you, or is it because you're a guy and your size can be used as an advantage that it's more
Well,
celebrated?
you know what? And again, I was so naive and just blind, and I was this way all the way through high school. And you can call it a blessing, a curse, whatever. For one thing, I didn't care, I guess. I don't know. So I don't know. I could honestly tell you if I was bullied or picked on, couldn't tell you. I really couldn't. But I also was lucky enough to, when I was at that age and that size, I was in a very, very small school in Tennessee. That's where my family was all from. And so, in my fifth grade class, I might have been one of 12. And half of them
Oh, wow.
I was probably related to. I mean, that's how small and kind of my whole family grew up in the area. So, no, I don't think I was, and I think as a guy, like you said, and that's a very, very important spot. But as a guy, yeah, it's almost a badge of honor.
Right.
And I think we've talked about this before. A guy is 6'7", 400 pounds, 485. Where I got to. Not a lot of negativity gone my way. Now,
Right.
if you're a woman and you're 6'7", 485 pounds, people are looking down their nose. They're talking about you. They're
Right.
whispering. So yeah, no, definitely in our society, big men, it's okay. Big women, it's not. I mean,
And I
it is.
do. I've had some people argue me over the years, but I do think that there was always a stigma with men would be celebrated, or not celebrated for their size, but men who have a larger size, if you had money or if you were funny, especially, you still got the girls, you still got
Sure.
attention, and you weren't judged for your size. But a woman could be just as funny, but if she's heavy, it's like, oh, it's the funny fat person or whatever. Like, you have to like add that adjective to it. So I do find it interesting. And when I had Chris on the show a while back, he was in the same boat where he was a very big guy in high school, but his size was celebrated because
Mhm.
it's going to make the team even better and it's going to make him perform better, even
Yeah.
if he couldn't do the positions that he would have liked to, like be a running back or whatever.
Right.
But his size was celebrated and almost encouraged
Sure.
and I think it's in a dangerous way because we're all in this community because we had dealt with obesity issues. So like we
It's
didn't
true,
like.
and I've said this before. A lot of my friends that and I went on to play college football, and and stuff. And so after college, a lot of my friends drop weight. They're like, oh, we're no longer a football player. We don't train like a football player. That means we don't eat like a football player. So now all of a
Right.
sudden they're all skinny or whatever. I did the opposite. And I don't know if it's, metabolism, blood, I don't know, or if it was truly a mindset, but I also didn't have a real overeating problem. So I don't know, it's crazy because I don't know. I think it was just a matter of, I'm not doing a whole lot, but yet I'm still eating like I played football. And so that had a lot to do with it.
So then what do you think started the transition into going into the wrong, like dipping more into the obesity level that you had gotten to?
So when I graduated high school, I was about 315. I got to college, and I gained about another 10 pounds. So my freshman year in college, I was playing football at about 325. And I was never the fastest or the strongest. I was just always the biggest. And
Right.
so I had a great man. I mean, an absolute one of my mentors was my O-line coach in junior college. And he pulled me aside and he saw in me what I didn't even see in me. And Dick James was his name. He's just a great human. And he said, listen, I believe you can be, I think you can be bigger. I think you could be a starter. I think you could be this. I think you could be that. I have faith in you, but you have to listen. You have to do what I tell you to do. And he goes, if you're in, I'm in. And I bought in and I said yes. And so he put me on a diet. He put me on a weightlifting program, and I got down to 275. And that's the number that's always in my head because I can remember that's when I was at my greatest physically.
Right.
I mean, that's when I was the best at football. That's when I just felt the best. I was the strongest. And so to this day, that number is always that number that I've been chasing was 275 pounds. I've always been Big Dean, always,
Yeah.
as far as I can remember. And so I like that. I'm Big Uncle Dean. I'm to all my nieces and I mean, so I'm that guy. And again, it is a badge of honor. I mean, I'm 6'7". Not too
Yeah.
many people, even if I lose all my weight and I get to my goal weight of 275, you don't meet a lot of people that are 6'7",
Right.
275 pounds, right?
No.
So even though I'll be smaller, I'm still going to be
You're
big.
still going to be a presence
I'm still
regardless.
going to be Big Dean, which I'm 100% okay with. So
But I feel like the hidden connotation behind it is going to shift a little bit.
definitely, I mean, it
Yeah.
already is. I mean, it's again, so get back to the story. I'm off the
No,
squirrel over here.
no, you're
But,
fine.
and so I got to 275 with Coach James. And again, I was feeling at my best and confidence. And in my sophomore year, I was named a captain. I was a starter. First game of the year, I absolutely just tore it up. They gave me, player of the game, and so I was on this trajectory of where I wanted to go. And then I blew my knee out the next week in practice. And so not enough to have surgery, but I had to sit out 5 weeks. So I came back week 6. And again, I was on it because I was very dedicated. My
Right.
rehab was on it and I was doing everything I was supposed to do and killed it. And then we were killing the team we were playing. We were playing Glendale Community College and coach pulled all the starters. Well, the guy that backed me up was injured, so he couldn't play. And so he goes, oh, we're going to keep you in for the last series. We don't have your backup. And I was like, oh, whatever. I'm having a great game.
Right.
And then the next play, that same knee got blown out by the opposition, and I had to have surgery. So, and from that point on, mentally, I was toast. I mean,
Yeah.
I ballooned up to 355 pounds. I had a whole bunch of I had offers to go on to bigger colleges and stuff like that. And as soon as I blew my knee out, all the offers were gone, that kind of thing. So mentally, I was just a mess, and so I just kind of ballooned up. I got married right after
Mhm.
that season, I got married to my high school sweetheart, who I am still married to today. She's the greatest woman in the world. So shout out to Kelly Jo, just so you know.
That's right.
And so I decided to walk on at Fresno State because I had my best man at my wedding and my best friend at the time. he was going there. So I was like, let's do this, you know? So me and my wife, we got married and moved to Fresno, and I walked on to Fresno State. And when I got there, I was almost 360 pounds. And that's just, again, like I told you before, I don't move fast. I
Right.
wasn't super strong. I used my body well. And at 360 pounds, it was not it. And
Yeah.
so,
And it's
um,
not to cut you off, but I never played football in college. Well, one, they wouldn't let me play in high school because I was a girl, which was stupid because I would have kicked their asses. But when it comes to college football or any kind of college sports, it is a culture. It's not just something that you do. Like a lot of people who play sports in college, they are playing with the big dream that they are going to discover and they're going to be, they're going to make a career out of this. And it becomes their whole life. And so I can't imagine what that's like to all of a sudden, literally overnight, have that taken away from you and everything that comes with it. And you're like, even though there was never a guarantee that you were
mhm,
going to make it big or whatever, just the idea that it was a possibility or a
sure.
potential, and to completely take that away, I feel like I would be kind of lost. Like, what the fuck am I going to do now? Excuse my
Yeah, no, you
language.
know, mentally it was tough for me. And again, I don't, and I'm trying to think back, but I don't think I had real big aspirations of, going pro or anything like that. I had, again, I didn't start playing football till I was a sophomore in high school. And so I had just begun to love the game. And again, like I said, my junior college coach, he really instilled that in me. And so I just
Yeah.
really started loving that. And so I was just excited. I get to play college ball. I'm going to get, my schooling paid for, and it's a bigger college. It's a Division I, top tier school.
Right.
Um, and
Now,
so
not to cut you off, but when you can no longer play, is the scholarship gone at that point?
if you have the scholarship and you get hurt, no. But see, I didn't have it yet. I had
Oh, okay.
offers, so nothing
Got
was signed. So that's how come I had to walk on at Fresno. And I told myself I'll just prove it, and then I'll earn a scholarship, and then everything was good. But then, and what was crazy at Fresno is I get in there and, we're practicing or whatever. And they had a big guy transfer come in, and they were like, okay, this is going to be the starter in my position. I already knew, I was like, I can't play. I mean,
right.
I'm not at that level of starting yet, but I was working, working, working. And he ended up quitting and not finishing the spring season. And so they're like, Dean, you're next up. All you got to do is, stay in. I was like, all right, here we go, here we go. And then it was in spring ball, and we all had physicals, and they wouldn't pass my physical because my knee was not. I didn't rehab my knee good enough, and they were like, we're gonna have to redshirt you, and which means you're not gonna play. And I was like, and at the time, again, the greatest woman in the world, my wife, she's working full time. She's supporting my football habit. I
Right.
mean, she's supporting us through school because again, I didn't have a scholarship, so we're paying for everything. And when you are playing football, especially at a Division I school, and if you're on scholarship, even you're not even allowed to have a job. They don't even allow it because
Right.
you're a
It's a
dedicated football.
distraction. Yeah.
But even as a walk on, I mean, you're at the school, you're at the facilities, you're there 10 hours a day every day, and we're talking off season. I mean, you're all about the school. It's a business. And so I remember telling my coach, I was like, listen, unless you scholarship me, I'm gonna have to drop out of college because I got to get a job. And at this time, my wife, which we had just found out we were pregnant with our first child, I'm a baby having a baby basically. I was
Right.
19. And I said, listen, she can't. And then they put her on bed rest because she was having some complications. So I was like, listen, unless you scholarship me, I'm going to have to quit because I have to get a job and support my family. And he was like, we just can't do it because, we're not even sure you're going to be able to,
Right.
combat this injury and everything. And so I literally dropped out of college, quit playing football, thought it was over. I thought I would never play football again at that point, and went to work at a 7-Eleven for 80 hours a week. It was nuts.
Like, I mean, like, so jelly. Like, everyone would be jelly to lose the one thing that they love, the passion that they loved. You have your wife supporting you, which
Mm.
I understand there shouldn't be standards when it comes to men and women and gender roles, but there's a generality that men
Yeah.
provide for the household, and
Yeah.
as a man, like, you hold this
And that's how I was
responsibility.
raised. I mean, that's how I was raised. So, I mean, that's my generation. I mean, that's how I was
Yeah,
raised. So,
and that's my generation too. So, which it's one thing, like, if you're okay with your partner supporting you because you're working towards something, like, you're putting in the work, and then to have that taken away from you, and now wife's supporting you, now we're having a baby on the way, so you
yeah.
just lost everything that you enjoyed, and now you're just like, what the fuck am I gonna do now? Like, I can just imagine, like, all of these things, like, encompassing, like, all at once.
Yeah.
Man.
But, again, and I always say this because people always go, oh man, what could have been, I mean, 6'7", 300 pounds, that's what most NFL linemen are, right?
Yeah.
But, again, I'm in a very big belief that everything happens for a reason, good and bad. You can argue it, and when you're in the middle of it, obviously you're not thinking
You
that,
don't see it,
but
but
everything does. And I look back, and even in all my ups and downs through our life, financially, whatever, I won't change. I would never change any of it, none of it. I mean, I would really like some of it not to have happened, but it did.
agreed.
But if you can't come out the other side a little smarter, a little better, and try to focus on the good parts that came out of it, even if you
Yeah.
don't think there is, it's that's no way to live, for one. And luckily, again, I can't harp enough on my wife. She is, she's been the rock through all of this. I mean, again, you're supporting a 20-year-old to play football, and half the time, you're going to the football place and all you're doing is playing Nintendo with the boys, and your wife's working her butt off, 60 hours
Right.
a week to support this. I mean, all that kind of stuff. I mean, my wife will always be just, she is the support mechanism in our family.
It's so common though, whenever somebody has a major life change where the rug is pulled out underneath you, it's so common that people will revert into a dark place that becomes hard to come out of. And then, let alone have like two or three huge major life changes all happening at once, the average person will fall backwards easily.
Yeah.
And we've all been there before, but I've always been, and you and I have talked about that, I'm a firm believer that everything's for a reason. And
Mhm.
even, which we'll get into the surgery and stuff, but the biggest complaint about people regarding the surgery is that they wish that they had done it sooner. And yes, would I have loved to have lived in a feel better in my body in my 20s? However, the person that I am in this exact moment with us
Right.
talking here is literally based on every single experience that has happened leading up into this moment. And like you said, there's going to be times where there's certain life events that I would rather not have to replay all over again. But if it meant being in the place that I'm in now and that had to have happened, then I'm going to
Right.
go through it again, because I
Right.
don't want to change where I'm at, because there's no guarantee if we went back in time, if your knee never blew out, there's no guarantee it would be better right now. There's a chance it
Exactly.
could be just as worse, or if not worse.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
So
one of my biggest things when you look back and go, well, why did that have to happen or whatever? I always try, when I look back, it's like, man, if I would have been this ultra stud athlete, if I did have the speed, if I did spend the time in the weight room in high school and stuff like that, and got big and got scholarship right out of high school, I would never have married my wife. Well, that's a big no,
right,
And then if I didn't get hurt and had to leave Fresno and move to Oregon, I would never have met my best friends, people I named my son after, I mean, these relationships, that mean more to me now than any of that stuff could ever have
right.
meant, So it's like, you just, the saying, you just roll with the punches. You just, sometimes you just got to. I
You
mean,
have to.
it just is what it is.
So obviously, I'm assuming you have overcome the knee issues over the
Yeah.
years. You had your surgery. You now have a little baby on the way. You're working your ass off. I remember you had told me what was going on in 2016. We're fast forwarding a little bit now.
So I had lost my job. Man, this was like in 2000, and I might get the dates wrong, around 2007 or something like that. And I was out of work for a while, and so I was just doing during the whole recession, whatever. Yeah, maybe that was
Oh, I do remember.
2007. That was 2011, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, it was.
So during that whole recession, I lost my job, and we went through a financial just boom.
Us
I mean,
too.
everything was gone. And so I was picking up work from friends, and I worked for a buddy of mine who had started up a logistics company, and I was moving stuff. I mean, we moved refrigerators. I mean, we moved everything. We were just packing stuff in trucks and moving stuff. Well, I was carrying a refrigerator, and my friend, by the way, is about 5'5", 150 pounds, so he was no help when you came to like refrigerator stuff.
We're
And
not bitter
so,
though.
yeah, no, not at all. And you wonder why I make fun of short people. But and so I was,
Sorry, wait, everybody's short compared to you.
I know. So I was carrying this refrigerator up like 3 flights of stairs to an apartment, and I heard my back kind of pop, and I was like, "Ooh, that felt weird," but kept going, and it just progressively got worse and worse and worse, and to the point where, like 6 months down the road, my leg was paralyzed and I was bedridden. And because I had gotten so big, and at this point I'm 400 pounds, uh, the doctors, they kept telling me, "Oh, you have to lose weight. Oh, you have to lose weight." Nothing pisses me off more than when you're going for an issue medical, and the
They just
doctor's first
blanket
saying is,
it.
"Well, lose weight and there won't be a problem." Well,
Right.
guess what? It is a problem, and I can't lose 200 pounds overnight. So fix the problem, right?
Right.
So, excuse me. So,
Yeah.
I was bedridden, and to a point, and this is the darkest I have ever been.
Okay.
And again, my saint of a wife. I mean, I was bedridden, sleeping on the floor on a mattress in a whole nother room. I was taking probably 5 to 7 oxycontins, every 4 hours. I mean, I was popping these things like Tic Tacs just to try to get the pain away.
Yeah.
And and it got to the point where I wasn't even sleeping. I mean, I'd be up 72 hours straight, because the drugs, those painkillers mess with you, and then you
Mm-hmm.
get addicted, and I was a mess. And I woke up one day, and I was paralyzed from the waist down. I couldn't move, and I was in severe pain. And so we had to rush me to the ER, and they did emergency surgery on my back. And I woke up, I could feel my legs and I could wiggle my toes, except for my left foot never came back. So I have what they call drop foot. My left foot's paralyzed
Even to this day.
to this day. Yeah. So I have to wear a
Okay.
special brace that I've only gotten in the last year or so. So and then I got bigger and bigger, and so then in 2016, I was like, I got to do something, and so I started getting into swimming at the gym, because I couldn't work out anywhere else. I couldn't do anything else. I couldn't
Yeah.
run. I couldn't do anything because I was too big. It was
Just
too
the
hard.
impact
It was
on
hard
your
on my
body.
back and my
Yeah.
knees, and so I was like, oh, I'll try swimming. So I got into swimming, and I loved it. I mean, I could swim, and for whatever reason, I could swim for hours, never
Mm-hmm.
and not stop. I just had it. I don't know why. I just could. And so then I decided I'm going to enter a triathlon. I mean, they say the hardest part in the triathlon is the swim, and that's my favorite. I said, but the hard part will be the run, because my paralyzed foot. And what happens is my foot hangs. And so my toes would catch, and I would fall all the
Oh
time.
shit.
I would trip and fall. And I'm a big man. So when I fall, your instinct is to try to catch yourself. So I would take
Yeah.
everybody and everything with me when I,
You're coming down with me.
it was just bad. And so, so I was training in 2016. I ran my first triathlon. I think I was 430 or 440 pounds, and I
That's
did a triathlon.
incredible.
And I finished. I did it in like 2 hours and 45 minutes. And I finished, and so in my head, I was like, yes, yes, here we go. And so then I decided I'm going to do one every other year. So I have this whole year to train. So I decided in 2018 I was going to do another one. So I trained, and I dropped more weight. And I think I got down to, I was right around 400. And
Okay.
I did the same exact triathlon in 2018. And I think I trimmed like almost a half hour off my time. And so
Wow.
then I was just jacked, and I was like, this is going to be that new thing that I do that's going to help me get healthy and drop the weight and stuff like that. And so I was like, okay, so every other year, so 2020 I started training, and then COVID hit. And so they canceled everything. And at the same time, during all of that, I had opened up a hot dog company, little, almost like a cart, just a
Okay.
dream of mine to make some extra money on the weekends because I had opened this when I was out of work, and so I was doing this kind of as a side gig, when I was bouncing around looking for work. And I'd been open. I think we were open for about 6 years. We got a spot at the local outlet mall, and we were doing great. It was a great business. My wife actually quit her job to run it.
Wow.
And let me tell you,
Please tell
again,
me, please tell me there was grilled onions on your hot dogs.
I had 25 different topping options, and you could grill any of them. If you wanted grilled onions, you could have grilled onions.
Yes.
Our thing was the hot dog bun. Our bun was homemade, and it was a New England lobster roll, and we'd butter and season and
What?
fry the bread,
Oh.
put the hot dog in it. But
I
anyway,
okay.
don't get me down that road.
Okay,
I'll
no, we're
give
not gonna
you
go
a
down
whole
that road
nother
right now.
podcast.
However,
So
comma, when I come and visit you and your wife, because it's gonna happen, I
I'll
am
make
going
it.
to. I want a
Oh,
special hot dog.
we just had oh, by the way, the company's name was Deanie's Weenies Hot Dog Company.
I fucking love that.
And so we had a Deanie's Weenies feast last weekend with me and a whole bunch of friends, and it was
Oh,
it was incredible. It was incredible.
I
But
freaking love that. So wait, we're gonna get into 2020 for a second.
yeah,
But I want people watching this when just because what you just said, you don't even realize how inspiring that is. When people, whether you're bariatric or not, how many times have we said we can't do something? And to
yeah,
be able to watch this guy, watch Dean, who at 430 pounds with a bum foot found a way to do a fucking triathlon and beasted it. And maybe it wasn't as fast as you had hoped or what your
right.
abilities were, but the point is that you did it. So for those of us who are saying like, "Oh, walking it's a lot. I don't want to do it." Okay, here's a guy that was so determined. Size did not stop you. Physical deformities that were happening right now did not stop you. A back surgery and knee surgery did not, like, you found a way to persevere and you set your mind to something. And I don't think you're realizing how impactful that is for other people outside of you.
And again, I hope that somewhere along the line somebody is better because of just seeing me do something or whatever. That would be incredible. That's
That's
my
huge.
biggest heroes in my life, and I might get emotional, but are my kids. For all the adversity that I've gone through, they both my daughters are type 1 diabetic, and they got it juvenile, when they were 10 years old, both my daughters. And you want to talk about life changing, is have some kind of a disease like that turns your world upside down, and then you have to
Yeah.
battle it for the rest of your life. you
And
know
because if I understand, type 1 is more of a genetic thing. That's not like, it's not like you can just take a pill or do something and then have it go away overnight.
no, they're both of them have been on insulin shots since they were 10 years old. we spent
Wait,
we spent
is your daughter Kendra?
That's my oldest. She was the start of it all. She was my inspiration to be better.
Well, I don't know if you can see the comments or not because I can see all the comments, but she says, "Can I tell you, as his daughter, his kids are better because of everything he's ever done."
That's my kids are my trophies. So
I welcome Kendra. And for the record, can you remind your dad when I come and visit you guys and meet everybody, I'm getting a special hot dog. Just so you guys know. Okay, so we're gonna go back to 2020 now.
yeah,
Apparently, some epidemic happened. People were complaining about it. I don't know, like something about some shit
complete
was,
yeah.
yeah,
So what I
something.
also do is in 2020 or 2019, end of 2019, I decide it's going to be a great idea to expand Deanie's Weenies because we were doing so well with the cart, the mobile cart, plus the kiosk we had at the outlet mall. So I decide that we're going to go full bore and open up a full brick and mortar restaurant. I drained my retirement, the whole thing, just to fund all of this because on paper and my dreamer's head, it all made sense. Built an incredible shop. It was everything I hoped it would be. I designed everything. It was incredible. I had employees. We opened up November 2019. And for 4 months, booming. It was absolutely incredible. Um, and then in February, Oregon shut everything down. I think at the time you were allowed to do takeout only.
Mm-hmm.
You takeout hot dog is not kind of the high on everyone's list,
No,
and so, and the biggest thing with Deanies Weenies was it was the atmosphere also.
it was the
The
environment.
fresh bun right off of the griddle, not one that's 30 minutes in a car. So they shut us down, and and I got to take some of the blame. I was not very business savvy when it came to something that big, and so
Mhm.
I didn't reinvest the money. I didn't do it right, and so when we shut down, I had to shut it down all the way, and then it went downhill from there. I mean, it was bad. That we had just got out of, financially recovering from when I lost my job in 2011. We were
Right.
finally back up there, and no debt, all that. And then I take on this debt for opening up this restaurant, and it was going well, and everything looked good until it didn't. And then COVID hit, and you add all of that on top of, you know, you can't go to the gym because of COVID and all this stuff and all this stress. I'm working from home. So when I work from home, I eat all day long. I was drinking alcohol too much, and all that stuff. I ballooned up. That's when I got to my biggest. I was 485 pounds. I was pushing 500 pounds. Um, I just wasn't healthy. It was not healthy mentally, none of it. I was a
No.
mess.
And it sucks because people I think underestimate how powerful mental health is, or lack thereof. And even when everything shut down, and I was forced to be home by day 3, only 3 days into the pandemic, I had a full panic attack. I was
Mm,
like, because I found myself constantly going to the fridge, and I had already had the surgery, like, and I had been surviving for like many years or whatever, and finding that like I had a full meltdown. So I went and got a job at a Walgreens for 2 months. I said just something to physically get me out of the house.
yeah,
And the point of this story is, one, because you guys should know I worked at Walgreens. It was fun. Um, Working in retail in the middle of a pandemic is not what it's cracked up to be. However, it was amazing the pattern that people were buying. It was a lot of alcohol.
yeah,
It was a lot of it was a lot of junk food, sugar, candy, and it was a lot of Plan B and a lot of pregnancy tests, which I thought was interesting because nobody was buying condoms during the pandemic.
right.
But I was surprised at how many people were buying alcohol because people were so depressed and scared that they were drinking themselves. I know that
Mhm.
addiction skyrocketed during that
Yeah.
time because people didn't know how to deal with it.
And what's crazy too is I had a great job. I have the job I have now during all that, but it was still the weight of, and honestly, it was, Dean's Weenies was a brainchild of mine. It was kind of this dream I had to be self-employed, and the fact that it was so successful, and it was all me up here, and then to see it all crash down, it
Yeah.
played a huge part in just kind of me going downhill when it came to health wise. So.
Yeah, because this is something that you created, and
Yeah.
it ended not because you failed at it or
Right.
anything you did. It failed because of something outside of your control that you couldn't do anything to fix that. And I think that's what makes it so much more frustrating because it was doing so good and you're
Yeah.
finally there.
Yeah. It was nuts. It was crazy. And so then I got so big, and when you're 485 pounds and you're 6'7", so it's that weight is stretched out. I carried most of mine in my belly. I had a gigantic. If you look some of my pictures on TikTok, I had the belly. It was all up front. It was all there, and you can't get on the ground, and you can't get down on the ground and play with kids, or you can't. Heck, you couldn't walk to the mailbox without being out of breath,
Right.
and so you just keep sitting around even more. So there's just, it's just piling on, piling on, piling on, and in my life, I've lost over 100 pounds 4 times,
That's
and
just crazy.
I've gained 150 back every time, and so it's not that I couldn't lose the weight. I know I could, but then, mentally, physically with my foot. And then you just get so big to a certain spot where then it's just like, it hurts. It just hurts,
Yeah.
and luckily, my doctors, I had elevated blood pressure at 485 pounds, not high, elevated. None of my cholesterol, none of that stuff was bad. I was not pre-diabetic. I was literally the healthiest fat guy you'd ever known.
Which
And
is so
so,
hard to fathom. Like people, like I was fully aware that I was over 350 pounds, but there was not enough drive there to force. Like I had always tried, I would do like the fad diet and then it didn't work. And you lose 20, you gain 40 or whatever.
yeah,
But for me, like my rock bottom was fine because all the blood tests up until that point, no thyroid issues, no heart issues, no cholesterol issues. Like my tests were normal, and you're like, this doesn't. And when it's constantly normal, you almost kind of feel like you're, I don't know, like I don't want to say superhuman, but like there's no sense of urgency because the way that
there's
I'm living,
not.
I'm fine, I'm still healthy. And for
Yeah.
me, it wasn't until the test wasn't correct and it was
Mhm.
now type 2 diabetes and high cholesterol, fatty liver, and you're like, wait, I guess I'm not immortal like I thought I was. And so that was the catalyst for me. But for you, who even at 480, like you're not having like these negative blood results, there's no like detrimental like oomph to like get you motivated to do it. What ended up becoming like your turning point where you finally decided enough's enough?
Well, for one thing, I was just in so much pain. I mean, I'd wake up and get out of bed, and I was between my back and my knees. I was just in so much pain. But the biggest thing was my wife, who loves me fat, thin, whatever. Um, she was more worried about, you can't keep this up.
Right.
I mean, at some point, something's going to happen. But she made a statement that to this day, stuck with me. And she said, have you ever seen a 500-pound, 60-year-old man? Like me personally, have you ever seen one? Have you ever taught? Have you ever seen anybody walking around? Have you ever seen a 500-pound, 60-year-old man? And then that's all she said. That's all she had to say. And I was like, God, no, no, I haven't. I haven't seen a
Yeah.
450-pound, 60-year-old man walking around. And I and I'm 50 at this time, and so I'm like, oh my gosh. And then there's grandkids. I got three of the craziest grandboys of all time and one beautiful little granddaughter, and they are my everything. I mean, they're people ask me, who's your favorite child? I said, my grandchild's. I mean, if I could have had
Sorry,
grandkids,
kids.
if I could have grandkids and not kids, I don't know if I'd ever been a dad. I just went straight to grandfatherhood. But
Dad still loves you. He doesn't really mean it.
that's right, yeah. But they're amazing, and so they'd come over to the house, and call me Big Papa. Papa, come down on the floor. Let's play. And I get down there,
You can't
I
get up.
don't get up, and when I do get up, I don't walk right for a week. I'm in
Yeah.
so much pain, and I want to be. It finally just and why it took so long, I don't know, but I just wanted to be the best version of me for my circle, for my people, my friends, my family, and especially my wife, and I wasn't. And I think it just finally clicked. And, at the time, my insurance wouldn't cover the surgery, but we found out my wife's would. So we kind of just looked into it. And then finally, when it was open enrollment, I dropped my insurance and got on hers. And, that was January 1st of 2022.
Last year.
um, I called the doctor January 1st. And that was the first day I was on our insurance. I called the doctor and said, I want to make an appointment and talk about this. And I
I
think,
absolutely and not to cut you off, but I just want to say to all of you guys who are watching right now, you guys are showing so much love. It is definitely Team Dean in the house today.
let me
I'm
tell you,
assuming you're
I have the best circle of people. I mean, my circle is, I mean, I couldn't have done any of it without them. I mean, between my
right.
kids and my friends, um, they're all so supportive. I mean, even now I'm a year out, right? And we had a big 4th of July barbecue over at my friend's house. And what do? They make high protein, no sugar food. because, and I'm the only one that can't eat certain
Right.
foods, but that's what they make, and so, and then I go out to the lake last weekend to go just fart around on the lake on boats and stuff. And the friends we went with there, she brought lettuce wrapped chicken stuff, and no sugar, because she was like, we just want to make sure you're continuing to be, healthy. And it's just that kind of support is
Yeah.
just phenomenal.
I
It's
just
just
love
nuts.
such a firm believer that you are a product of your environment and the people that you keep. They say that like your character can highly like very commonly be based on like the five closest people to you, and like you tend to carry each other's characteristics, and
Yeah.
if you're constantly around negative people you find yourself becoming more negative. But
Mhm.
just, I mean, that's also a testament to your character and your being as a person, that people are willing to go above and beyond to make sure that you are taken care of and that you are comfortable. And I just, number one, I think that's freaking awesome. So I hope your family knows that I'm going to come visit, and I expect
Well,
to meet
hey, look at that
everybody
comment up
here.
there. See that top comment, Kelly Jo Franz Abels? That's the Rock. That's my wife, and
Oh,
she's
Kelly Joe's the wife.
she is the one. Yeah,
From what I hear, she's kind of a big deal.
she is a big deal. Yes.
I freaking like, yeah, I think somebody said like Amber says that your whole family is here. I believe it right now because you guys are freaking amazing. So you decided in January that you were going to have this surgery, and we just celebrated 1 year yesterday.
Yeah.
So you had 6 months for the whole process. Do you think that 6 months was enough time to mentally prepare for what was about to come?
I can honestly tell you, and again, this is me, my
Yeah.
mindset, who I am. If I went in there, if they would have seen me January 1st, I would have had the surgery January 2nd. I was so ready. I wanted it. I was done. Now, again, my wife, she's also the level-headed one. She was not, and she was more worried. Just it's a big surgery, and again, I had gastric bypass, so as we say, they rearranged my pipes a little bit.
Right.
It wasn't just a sleeve, and I don't want to say just a sleeve, but
Right.
they literally rearranged my insides, and so that scared my wife a lot. She actually wanted me to have the sleeve, and my doctor, because I was so big, he said that he didn't want to give me the sleeve. Somebody that was as big as me, he wanted me to have gastric bypass instead. And again, I was like, "You're the doctor. I trust you.
Right.
You've done over 800 of these things. You know what you're doing." And so I said, "Okay." But so, I mean, 6 months to me, I would have done it, a day later. But again, I didn't have any issues with surgeries. I've had knee surgeries and back surgeries, and I never had any complications. And so
Yeah.
surgery never really bothered me. So for me, no, I mean, 6 months was actually too long. I wish I would have had it done, sooner. But again,
See,
it all is.
and I will say, you and I are similar in the sense that once you set your mind to something, like, that's all you're going to fixate on until you have it. Like there's no like not going to happen. And mine took a while to get approved, only because of insurance at the time, because
Mhm.
Obamacare had come out like in 2013 or whatever this was. And but once I was told that it was not going to be likely for me because of the insurance issue, that just made me want it more. And so I was
Right.
so determined, and every single day for 6 months. That's all I focused on until I finally got the call that everything was done, it was approved, and she was ready to schedule a surgery like the following Monday. And when that became reality, I'm like, wait, in like 3 days? No. Like, we're not ready for this yet. That's all I thought about for 6 months was having the surgery. And when the
Right.
finality came and now it was time, I'm like, wait, you got to give me some time to prepare for this. But the difference is I had never had a surgery. I had never been under
Mhm.
anesthesia. So the fear of
Okay.
not knowing what to expect, that's what caused me fear. I
Very
do
understandable then. Yeah.
Yeah, I do feel that if I was in your position and I had done other surgeries before and had your experience, I probably would have been ready to sign the dotted line like much sooner. Yeah, like sign me up. Yeah, no,
And what's
I'm
crazy
seeing
is,
too.
when I scheduled on January 1st, they still couldn't even see me until February. So my first appointment was February something, and I weigh in, and the doc gave me some parameters. He was like, "Listen, Um, my BMI was like pushing 70. I mean, it was up there. And he goes, we have two options. We have an open surgery, or we can have the endoscopic version. He goes, I will not do an endoscopic version if your BMI is over 55. It's automatic. We're cutting you open. And he goes, so that means, and then he did the calculations. He goes, so you have to lose, I think it was 55 pounds pre-surgery if you don't want to be opened up. And I said, I don't want to be opened up. And not because I was scared of being opened up.
I would.
The recovery was going to be more,
Yeah.
because, you're cutting through everything. And I was like, no, I don't want that. And I told myself, I know I can lose weight. I know I can lose it, especially in that. And again, I'm very goal oriented. And so hence why I even did the triathlons is there's something out there in front of me so that I can work towards it.
Right.
And so the doc said, this is what it is. And then he gave me this list of all this other stuff, all these tests and all this stuff. And I was so determined to get this. And he wouldn't give me a surgery date until I checked all the boxes and everything else. And so, I mean, I think it was 2-3 weeks later, I had all the boxes checked. I had done every stinking test I had to do. I had done everything. And now I was just focused on getting that,
the BMI
losing
down.
that 55 pounds. And I think I went in, I think it was about 2 months. So I think it was around April I went in for my visit, and I'd lost 65 pounds. And he goes, boom, you did it. Let's schedule the surgery. And I was like, let's go. And so he scheduled it for July 11th. And
7-Eleven?
7-Eleven.
Love it.
So I went in, had the surgery, and I woke up with a 14-inch zipper down my chest. They opened me up. And
wait, after all that, they still opened you up?
And the reason is when they went in endoscopically, and that's what they were trying to do. They could. It was weird. It was my colon was like going. I don't know. It was in a weird position. They couldn't see my stomach. They couldn't see anything.
Wow.
And so he had to make the decision to open me up. And so I woke up with this giant, scar down my chest. But again, okay, whatever. I mean,
not just like okay, whatever.
I mean,
it's a giant zipper.
Like, oh my God, you ruined my bikini body, and I have the giant scar. Whatever, I'm a little TMI, but I am so freaking hairy. You can't see the scar anyway. It's all chest hair. So
all I'm saying is I'm Italian. We're probably not too far from each other.
But and so I had to stay a couple extra days in the hospital because I had this giant wound. But I can remember day one, I think I walked half a mile around my neighborhood. I was ready. I was so ready for the result.
Oh my God, you're kind of pissing me off right now because I did not have a zipper chest, and I slept on a recliner for 3 weeks because the incision pain was so intense. I could not like move back or forward. I would walk around the apartment for 20 minutes. I would set a timer and just kind of walk, but like, no, you're walking like freaking miles and shit on day one.
Well, and again, and my wife, and she's probably going to come on here and say something because I'm gonna tell you what I tell her all the time. I'm just built different, because, and she hates when I say that, but again,
I'm on team wifey,
and this is my journey, and I can't say this for a lot of people because we always hear not horror stories, but we always hear stories of people sick for months after, they can't keep food down. I mean, they just have these complications, which, man, I feel so bad because I can honestly tell you I've had zero. I've had nothing. I mean, I've had no issues, no food. I can eat anything. And and here's even a little, to be honest, you're not supposed to have sugar, or they say more than 10 grams of sugar for any meal or whatever, especially at Gastric Bypass.
Right.
I've eaten donuts. I've eaten sugar, and I don't get sick. I've never had dumping syndrome, ever.
Which is good. And like sleeve, it's not common. Like people can get dumping syndrome, but it's not as common.
Right.
But I will say this: the first 3 weeks were obviously the hardest for me. But other than that, I am very blessed because, like you, in almost 9 years, I can count on less than 2 hands the amount of times that I have physically thrown up, or I've been sick, or I have not. So I have not have. So I'm gonna give you shit for walking around on day one or whatever. But I applaud that because I also think that there's something to be said that when you're in the right mindset going into it. I don't know about you. I was a drill sergeant when it came to the program. I would
That's
not
true.
stray. Like if it said do not eat this for 3 weeks, I waited for 3 weeks and one day.
I mean, I would push those limits only because I was so eager, but I
Yeah.
would push them by like a few days. Like my doctor said, you can't work out until next Monday. I worked out Thursday before. I mean, I was like, I would push those because I was just
Yeah.
so eager I just wanted to advance my
Yeah.
progression. And so other than that, I was the same way. I mean, I did not have any sugar until I was past everything going, okay, I'm going to try it. And luckily, I was not a sugar guy anyway. So I
Yeah.
was not a dessert person. So the whole no sugar thing doesn't bother me. I was more of I'm going to order 2 pizzas and probably eat both pizzas. I was a hamburger, triple cheeseburger. I mean, I
Yeah.
liked food. I was not I was never a sweets guy. So that
Yeah, but
didn't.
also, but keep in mind too, because of your size, like because of your height, your stomach, even your pouch is still not going to be the same size pouch as a 5'2" woman who now weighs like 110 pounds. So like you will have been able to consume more in
And
a
my doctor
sitting.
said my pouch was the size of an egg. He
It's
made it
fucking
small. It
crazy.
was the size of an egg. And that so when you're eating food, it's hard to imagine. You're like, well, I just ate more food than the size of an egg. So it's hard to understand exactly what it does in there. But yeah, I mean, he said he goes, pick up an egg, and that's the size of
Yeah.
your pouch. That's how big your stomach is now. And so I mean, I think for the first month I didn't eat over 500 calories a day. I mean,
Oh, I
I just
definitely
couldn't.
didn't.
I
Yeah.
just couldn't do it. I mean, I couldn't put that much food. I mean, I was eating yogurt and kefir and all that other stuff as much as I could to try to get my protein in. But I just couldn't do it. And I was never hungry. I'm still not ever really hungry, but
I don't even all these years later, I never get hungry. Now I am a visual person. So if I walk somewhere and I see something on the table and there's like if it's a pie or some kind of snack good,
mhm. I'm
um,
a
that's
grazer. I
that's all
mean,
I'm good.
I'll go
But
by and, graze, and I still do that.
oh
And
yeah.
because, I mean, to this day, I still count calories. I mean, I've always counted calories, and it's just something that's in me. And so I count calories and protein intake. That's what I do.
And I do think like I was religious with it for a very long time. At now I don't necessarily count calories unless I'm on a specific goal. Like if it was
Mhm.
like then I'll like go back to tracking and kind of see like what's tweaked. After a while, you just
Yeah,
gauge it. Like you probably
exactly.
you'll know what 4 ounces looks like. You know about four
Right.
ounces is equal to like 30 grams or whatever it is. So
And I think
um
the reason why I do count still is because I am a grazer, and so mentally I have to tell myself, you have to count every single thing you put in your mouth.
yeah.
Because I'll walk around and eat a chip here, or I'll eat here, or I'll do something here. And then, if I gain weight, I'm like, what? I only had 2 meals yesterday. Yeah, but you grazed for 8 hours. So I literally count anything. I mean, it's just, I'm kind of a Nazi about it. My family gets a
Yeah.
little crazy about it sometimes, but it's how I have to do it. So
But I think that's good because I think over the years people do get very lax, and I was the same way when I had my nervous breakdown and I was on medication and I gained all of this weight, which was out of my control. But once I was trying to get back on track, I'm like, this doesn't make sense. I was like, I can't even eat that much. Why am I not losing anything? Because the medication's gone. I'm walking. And then once you start tracking, you're like, oh yeah, I had a couple bites of that. Oh
yes,
yeah, I kind of
it's
drank that
key.
earlier.
It's
And it's the little things that kept like
mhm.
adding up and you're like, oh, we don't
And I'm
realize
still
it.
not to my goal weight. So, I mean, I still count calories and I still try to get into a major calorie deficit because I'm still not at my goal.
Yeah.
I'm about 295 right now, and I want to be around 270, 275. So I still got, and these last 20 are kicking my butt. So,
It does, it sucks.
yeah,
But it's 100% doable.
yes.
So just so you know, we're going to run over time a little bit. Because why not? I'm not
I'm in
done
a
with you yet.
hotel room. I have nothing else to do. So,
Uh, so because I do want to talk about, we just had our 1 year surgiversary yesterday. So in reflection, what has there been anything in the last year that has surprised you about this journey?
you know what? I can honestly say the support from people I don't know. The
Really?
TikTok community, And I know there's a lot of negativity on TikTok. I mean, you get shitty people no matter where you're at. So
Yeah.
you just have to be able to take it and whatever. But the support and the relationships that, friendships that I've made with people that are on these same journeys. I say same journeys, but every journey is different. I can remember the very first person I ever started following that was on this journey was RNY Chris.
Yeah.
Um, and I watched him. I mean, I would go back and rewatch his videos. I don't know what it was about Chris, but he just really, I mean, I was watching his recipes. I was eating his recipe foods before I even had the surgery, just to try them out. But it's just stuff like that. You connect with certain people, and again, I would gauge because he would make note of this was week whatever. I'm down this many pounds, and again, I'm weird, but I have a spreadsheet that I track my weight loss and everything, and I have the weeks on there, and I would put on the weeks, and I had Chris's name on there. Well, Chris had lost 100 and this pound at this week, and so I was always aiming towards his. I was trying to beat his or at least get close to his. And then when I wasn't, I was like, I must be not doing something right because I'm not losing like Chris lost. Well, Chris was almost 500 pounds, but the guy's like 5'7". So he's
Right.
obviously going to lose weight faster than me. So that took me a little while to really kind of understand, my journey is my journey and I'm going to lose different than everyone else. But at least I had something to compare to. And I do compare. I don't compare to the point where I'm like, I'm doing it wrong. I just
Right.
like to know where everyone else is at. And so, but the TikTok community, man, God, it was life changing for me on the journey because you can feel a certain way because of the surgery. You can do all this stuff, but if nobody around you
Can
has
relate.
gone through the surgery or gone through it or is dealing with it or whatever, it's hard for them to kind of relate. And so when you're on here and you're watching these people and they're like, oh, this, and this, and you're like, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. And then you can make comments or a live would come up and you could ask questions. It was almost like a support group that I was not expecting. It's a social media, page that is for whatever. And it turned into a complete support system for me. And then I got addicted to TikTok. So.
I know, like my husband would be like, "You're on it again. Why are you always on TikTok?" It's so funny. Like I didn't realize how much I needed community until you have it, and you're like, "How the hell did I survive 9 years or 8 years at the time without this? Like this is
And,
insane."
don't get me wrong. I had so much support around me. I mean, my friends and family were phenomenal, but it is still something that they can't quite understand or really grasp. I mean, it's not something everyone has or has gone
Right.
through, and so there's certain things that they can still support you, but you just need that little extra, and
And
that's
it's nothing against people who have not had it because I've been very blessed. Like my husband is extremely supportive. He was supportive from day one. He would bend
Mhm.
over backwards for me. I had a small circle of friends that had my back. But still, it doesn't matter how supportive they are. When you're having these moments where I would get up and I got lightheaded really easily, and then I Google it and I
I
have some
still
rare
do.
disease and I'm fucking dying, and and then you find out, no, this is a common thing that happens at a certain period of time. So even though people can try to be supportive, unless you've experienced it and walked in those shoes, you can't fully
Mhm.
understand it in order to give the right thing, say the right thing to make you feel better or whatever. Because it doesn't mean that you're not grateful for the support system you had. It's just a different kind of support. So for if you guys are
100%.
watching, don't tune out thinking that he's not grateful for you because he's very
Well,
grateful for you.
and I compare it to my daughters, who, by the way, way more and way worse than what I went through. But being diabetic, when they're having their highs and their lows, and they're all, going through all that crap, and you can say, "Oh, I understand" or whatever. No, you don't. I mean, you
No.
can sympathize, but you
Right.
don't truly understand. You don't understand what a type 1 diabetic goes through when they're going through, you know, pure hell, when my daughter's being rushed to the hospital in an ambulance because she almost went into a diabetic coma. It's
Right.
like, no, you can't understand how you feel. All I can do is sympathize and support, which is great, and you need that.
Right.
but you also need someone who understands,
Right.
and so it's just that support mechanism. It
It's
just
just
is what it
different.
is. Yeah.
Side note, do your kids incorporate cinnamon into their diet?
Cinnamon,
Yeah.
probably cinnamon and sugar on toast.
Okay, okay, maybe no. I don't want them to spike it. Have your daughters ask their doctor about the benefits of cinnamon, only because I had when I was diagnosed with type 2, they wanted to put me on all of this medication, and they said if I didn't take the medication, I was going to have this for the rest of my life, and I was extremely stubborn. So I was doing all of this research, and I heard that there's a health benefit in cinnamon that helps regulate your blood sugar. And obviously, I'm not a doctor. You guys can go Google it and find out for yourself.
Right.
This is the research that I had read, is that when your sugar is like crashing and spiking or whatever, there's a property in cinnamon that kind of helps keep the trajectory. So instead of spiking and crashing, it kind of just, it won't spike as high and it
Mm.
won't drop as low. So I started putting cinnamon in my coffee every single morning, because like I figured if I did it in the morning, it'll regulate it for the rest of the day. And 6 months later, in addition to diet and exercise or whatever, I was able to reverse everything on my own. My blood
Awesome.
sugars became completely normal again. And even 9 years later, I still put cinnamon in my coffee every single morning. And maybe it's like a psychological
Wow.
thing.
Right.
So obviously, I'm not a doctor, but I'm curious, if they were to ask their doctor about cinnamon, it might help.
I'll have them talk to him. Yeah, I don't know. I never heard of it.
Yeah. So because we're almost out of time, there's a couple more questions I want to get to. And if you guys have any last minute questions for Dean, this is the chance to put him in the hot seat and get your questions answered. Question number one, we'll do some rapid fire. Um, so number one, when I did a bariatric deep dive last year, I was curious as to why women were so much more prominent on social media talking about bariatrics. But then when I did a deep dive, I realized it's because 70% of the surgeries are women. That's why there's
Hmm.
more women talking about it.
Right.
But even with 30% of men out there who are having this surgery, if you were to go onto social media platforms, there's still a very small number of men who are actively talking about their journey and stuff. And I've gotten different answers from guys. So I'm just curious from you as to, why do you think that men might not be as vocal about the surgery specifically compared to women?
Perception. I think it's, again, and it's not everyone, but a man is perceived to have to be strong, battle, blah, 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 whatever. And we do. I mean, I take that on. But I do think that, we don't like to show weakness. We don't like to cry. We don't like to do all these things, right? And I think, because the perception of weight loss surgery is the easy way out, which
Mm-hmm.
kiss my ass, it's not easy.
It's not.
But it's a tool, right? But because the perception is possibly that it's an easy way out, or you're weak, so you had to do that or whatever, I think guys just don't want to talk about it. I mean, that would be what I would think, because I
Right.
don't know. I really don't know why. I mean, if you've had the surgery, man, speak up. You could help somebody. You could save a life if somebody goes, if they
I
were on
agree.
the fence, and then but they're not hearing anybody like them, they're going to go, no, I'm not going to do it. And if anybody asks me, what do you think? Would you have, would you recommend it? Any day of the week. It's
Yeah.
changed my life so much and my outlook. And I mean, yeah. So yeah, I would think it was just a perception of weakness, maybe.
I can kind of see that. And for the record, some of us girls have that same personality too.
Sure, sure. I mean,
Like,
100%.
which
Again,
which is sucks,
because of
but
that whole, it's the easy way out. I mean, a lot of people don't want to talk about it, because then you're going to get all the negativity,
no,
right?
I agree. Because you know what? Like, even at over 350 pounds, I had the preconceived notion that surgery was cheating. I'm like, just put the fucking fork down and go for a walk. But then
Right.
when I put the fork down and I went for a walk and nothing was happening, you're like, wait, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing on my own and it's not working.
Well, and for women, it's harder. I mean, you guys don't lose weight like a guy does. I mean, I
I
can
don't.
I can go on a calorie diet and lose 10 pounds in a week if I want to. My wife could
Oh,
do the same exact diet and lose a pound, or not lose weight at all,
hmm,
and then she's discouraged, you get to discourage and all that. Again, we're built different. It's just
Yeah,
different.
and in relationships it's so hard. My husband and I did a 10-day juice fast of kale and chard and berries and all this shit.
I would have lost 100 pounds.
Yeah, in 10 days he lost like 14 pounds. I stepped on the scale, I lost 1. I'm like, I'm over 350. Why am I not losing anything? Girls, sometimes being a girl sucks.
Not
Um
sometimes. I would never change that. I would never want to be a girl ever.
you would be a very, very tall girl. And if you wore heels, my God. I'm just gonna say that. Um, all right. So question number 2 is, now that you've had, like, number 1, I'm gonna have you come back on the show. I'm not even asking for your permission. It's just gonna happen because
Right.
I want to talk more about what your goals are for next year. And I kind of want to see, like, you've already accomplished, you were accomplishing triathlons even before you had surgery. And we're not going to have time to really talk about it today, but you just did another triathlon in the last month.
I did.
And
I did it the beginning of July, and yeah, and my goal was to, crush my record of my over 400-pound triathlon and do this one as a under 300-pounder. And I chose a different triathlon, and come to find out, it was one of the hardest triathlons in Oregon, and it almost killed me. It was tough, and so I can tell you that it's my third one, and it was my final one. I won't be doing
you're
another
not going to do it
triathlon.
again.
No, I've done it. I can say I did it. Not too many people can say they've even done one. I've done 3. I'll move on to the next thing.
Which, and I have mad respect for that. You did it before at your worst. You've done it now at your current best that you've ever had. So that just means that the next goal you have is going to be bigger and more badass than the prior one.
Yeah,
So you have time to think of it. Um,
that's my
His
mom.
mama's here. I'm telling you, the whole fam bam is here.
They are.
Mama, just so you know, I'm Sherry. I'm gonna come and plan a visit and meet the whole family. And I've already been promised hot dogs. And I am a hugger. I need hugs.
Well,
Just throwing it out there.
that's my mom. She lives in Tennessee, so
Well, she's coming to Oregon because we're having a
I
family
wish. We
reunion.
always invite her. She hates me. She doesn't want to come up here.
Oh, that's messed up. Well, I would if she. I think she'll come if I go.
That might be. It
I'll
might
get her
be.
there. Okay. So the last thing I wanted to ask you before we go is, for somebody who is watching this now or listening later, who is either on the fence about having surgery or is in the very beginning stages, what would you say would be the biggest piece of advice that you would want them to hear?
Man, trust yourself, trust your goals, and yeah, they always say you have to do it for yourself. You can't do it for other people, which I agree with that to a point. But again, I did it because I wanted to be around my people. And I just knew that I wasn't going to do it on my own and stay there. Why? I don't know. I just know I couldn't. And so, just trust yourself and have faith in the process. And you know what? I'm gonna pull out a quote. Be the master of your own badassery.
Oh,
Figure
snap.
it out.
Fluffing my ego.
It's set yourself a goal. Be better for yourself, be better for your people, be better for your circle. And if that means the surgery, then do the surgery, trust it. Do your research, find the doctors that have the good reception out there that has done
Right.
it. I mean, there's too many good stories that overpower the bad ones.
I agree.
And the end result will be, you will be healthier, you will live longer, you will have a better quality of life. And that's, nobody wants to go through their life, you know, unhealthy, feeling bad, not being able to do things. I made this TikTok the other day when I went kayaking. I think it
Mhm.
was 3 years ago. All I wanted to do was kayak with my family. I always wanted to do it. I think it looks fun. I'm a man of water. I like to be around water. And so for Father's Day, we rented kayaks for the whole family. We all go out there, get in these kayaks, and mine sinks and fills with water because
Oh,
I'm too big. It
oh.
couldn't hold me. And so the whole family's kayaking, and I'm floating around the river in just my life jacket because that's all I could do. Still had a blast, but it was very humbling and very like, I just want to do normal things,
Right.
and this shouldn't be an issue being in a kayak, And so my son has a kayak, has been in my garage forever, and it has a weight limit of 300 pounds. And I took it out last weekend for the first time because I was 295, and I said, let's see if this thing doesn't sink. I'm pushing the limit, but whatever. And I went out there and I kayaked and I floated and I did everything, and I FaceTimed my wife and I was almost in tears.
Mm-hmm.
That quality of life, you'll be able to do things that you want to do that you wouldn't be able to do. I fly a lot. I was able to not put seatbelt extensions on. I can put both armrests down in an airplane. I don't have to feel so uncomfortable. I'm taking over the guy's seat next to me. Just little things that normality, normal people do.
Yeah.
You have that to look forward to. Just
I think, and anybody who's like worried about potential complications, look, there's always a chance that something can go wrong. But I'll tell you this, in the year and a half now that I've been doing this podcast, I've had people on this show, and you can go back and watch old ones. Shameless plug, watch my shit. But there are people that we've had on the show that have had crazy
yeah,
complications. They've had really bad setbacks, and every single one of them said they would do it all over again in a heartbeat,
yes,
because it's still how they were feeling now still overpowered the setbacks that they had getting to this point. And I think that
yes,
that is very powerful, that we often take so much for granted, for like the little things. And the biggest thing that pushed me through this surgery, the whole process from day one, is I'm a firm believer in manifesting. I'm a firm believer in visualization. And instead of focusing on complications that may or may not ever happen to you, I had pictures on my board of doing a fucking cartwheel. I had pictures on there of sitting in an airplane seat, of walking up the stairs and not grabbing the rail because I'm about to keel over, and wearing boots. And I was very fixated on the big picture and doing all of these things that the average person gets to do whenever they want and don't appreciate it. And 9 years later, every single one of those new NSVs, I appreciate as if it was the very first time I did it, because I will never forget where
mm-hmm.
I've come to get to this
Yes,
point, and I will always be grateful for it. And that's one of the things that really resonated about you with me, is we've had a very similar mindset, and you don't have this I can't do it attitude. You don't, whatever roadblock you've had, financial setbacks, you've had relationship setbacks, you've had anything that you can have thrown at you, and you have found a way to overcome it every single time. And like you said, sometimes we're in the belly of the beast. We're not consciously aware of what the other side's going to look like. We just have the faith that whatever's happening right now, there's a reason for it, and it's just going to make sense down the road. So as long as you
mm-hmm.
keep your head down and you keep pushing, you're going to get to the other side. And I just think that you are a very huge blessing to the bariatric community. And it sounds like it's because you have a pretty amazing support system at home that would not let you be an asshole,
They
or,
would not. I would
they would
hear
not.
about it. Trust me. They would tear me up.
Well, thank you, family of Dean. I appreciate it. Before we go, do you have any final parting words or anything?
I don't. I think if you're on the fence, I think you need to, shameless plug on TikTok. I know a lot of people hate the app, but whatever. Go on TikTok, follow some bariatric people, follow Sherry, follow MOBA. Oh my gosh, and I want to plug MOBA. I always tell people I am powered by MOBA. MOBA is a thing. I'm very much. I love quotes. There's so many smarter people way before me, and there will be way after me, right? And so they say smart things, they say inspiring things, and the mindset, like you said, you put yourself in a mindset, a positive mindset, and I think I latched on to MOBA for that reason. It was what I needed when I needed it, and I can't get enough of it. You know, Master of Badassery, which is what MOBA stands for, and Sherry is and her husband Eric are the founders of this. And it's such a perfect mindset. And granted, again, like Sherry says, mobile wasn't built for the bariatric community. It's built for anything, whatever you're going through, any struggle, anything, whatever. Like she said, it was built from struggle. They were in a spot of struggle. They had to figure out a mindset, and they got the mindset. And go on their website, buy the shirts. Support these people because they are helping a lot of people by instilling this mindset. And it's positive thinking, positive reinforcement, positive community, positive family,
Yeah.
and just be better. And you know what? Two steps forward, one step back, whatever. As long as you always try to be better than you were yesterday, it doesn't matter.
I agree. And it was funny this morning, and we're going to end on this note. Yeah, it will change your life. We were doing the challenge this morning, and we realized that sometimes you get very stagnant, even though you think you're
Mhm.
progressing, but you kind of get stuck in this little rut and you're not really. And sometimes we beat ourselves down. Um, and so I had said something in the live this morning that inspired an idea that we're going to put for a new shirt. So I'll send you one in the correct size when we launch it. It says be motivated by the people in front of you so that you can inspire the people behind you.
Love it. Oh my gosh.
Fucking
Yes.
like it came out of
Yes.
my mouth and I was like, oh my God, there is some brilliance in there. Like, and that is now going to become my new mantra is that we should, number one, do not ever compare yourself to other people. There will always be better people in a better position than us and people behind us. And it's all about our mindset and how we are
Mhm.
and navigating out of it. That's going to speak volumes for other people who are watching and observing. So for all of you guys who've been watching, thank you so much. And for Dean, he is going to come back on the show. We are going to schedule it because we're not done with him yet. And his headspace is just, I can't
Boom.
imagine what the next year is going to be like for you, dude.
Ah,
If you guys have not seen the podcast, if this is your first time, obviously I know that you're here for Dean. You're not here for me, and that's fine. I accept that. If you want to go back and watch other episodes, you can find us on YouTube at Unzipped with Sherry. We are also on all of the streaming platforms on Spotify, Apple. I have my podcast has been hoarded out all over the place to try to get it out there. So spread the word. And on that note, Dean, seriously, thank you so very much for being here today.
so honored to be a part of it, Sherry. Thank you so much.
I love you, man. And I hope you guys have an amazing week, and we will see you next time.